How we going, guys? Welcome to another Lives Hogs vlog. There's plenty happening in both groups. Both groups are up in the air. Who's going to get through the finals? There's still plenty of cricket to be played. Pakistan look like they're done and dusted, but if a few results go their way, they can still play in the finals out the back end. But let's go to the talking points. Shubs, roll bumper, please. Well, the bubble has burst for Pakistan, and the reason being is that Zimbabwe kept it simple. And that's what I like about the lesser teams here. Even Netherlands yesterday against India, they kept India quiet with their when India were batting because they were just bowling nice line and lengths. They weren't trying to do anything out of the ordinary. They're trying to just keep it nice and simple and bowl test match length. And these big nations are struggling to get them away. So watch out for another upset moving forward. We saw one yesterday, and it's just because of the bowling strength of the weaker teams, and they've got good plans keeping it nice and simple. Next talking point, please, Shubs. We've got to get into the Pakistan one. Pakistan troubles. Yesterday, I thought they were lethargic. With both bat and ball. The way that they started, they didn't assess the conditions. They just thought they were going to roll over Zimbabwe. Nazim Shah and Shaheen Afridi opening the bowling. They were going full. They were trying to get it to swing. It wasn't swinging. And it was after the fourth over till Pakistan started to bring the length back. And it was too late. Zimbabwe capitalised there and got, I think they had 42 runs on the board after 4 overs. So they were well in front of the game. They worked their way to 130, but when it came time to bat, just the opening bowlers of Zimbabwe just hit that good 10th test match length. They saw Sri Lanka the other night against Australia with the new ball. They saw that it was a little bit of seam. They weren't looking for that swing. They made Pakistan openers in that power play from the crease, not moving their feet. And again, they thought it was going to be easy, but it wasn't. They didn't really capitalise in the power play, and the strength of Zimbabwe is with their spin in the middle, and that's where they really suffocated Pakistan. So taking it too easy, not being prepared, is why Pakistan are having their troubles right now. Next talking point, please, Shubs. All right, India's big test will be on Sunday here against South Africa. It is going to be a close contest. It's going to be a packed house here at Perth Stadium with a quick bouncy wicket, and this is going to favour South Africa slightly because they've got a little bit of extra pace and they get a little bit of extra bounce as well. And if we saw yesterday's game, there's not much swing for the opening bowlers. So if India can't get that swing with Asdeep Singh and Bhuvneshwar Kumar with the new ball, South Africa are in with a huge chance. But the only thing that South Africa have to think about with their batting is their captain, Bavuma, out the top of the order. He's a little bit too slow. They might have to change that batting lineup to have someone a little bit more aggressive there to take on the Indian bowlers in the power play. Otherwise, they might fall behind the 8 ball. Okay, that's enough of me talking, and that only took 3 minutes 40. I absolutely love it because I'd rather spend more time on your questions. Anuj Prabhu, how are you going? Thanks very much for joining me. Do you think Sky will be an important factor going into the encounter against South Africa out Perth, given he plays those ramp shots? Definitely. If you look at the short boundaries, they're behind the keeper and they're straight down the ground. So Surya Kumar Yadav has got all the weapons to capitalise here in Perth. The other thing that I'm a little bit worried about with India, if we saw them against Holland the other night, their top order, it was not one of the toughest bowling attacks that you're ever going to face, but they struggled to find boundaries in those first 10 overs. And it was the presence of Sky when he came out where the momentum shifted. And it was the same the other night against Pakistan. Virat Kohli was having his troubles. The opening bats were having their troubles, but Hardik Pandya finding a couple of boundaries all was the reason why the momentum changed and it took the pressure off Virat Kohli. So that's something that India have to look at if they bat first moving forward. If a total's set, they're fine, but when they're setting a total, sometimes they get a little bit bogged down and they don't work out what the par score is early enough, and sometimes they get in trouble setting a total batting first. That's where South Africa can really capitalise, get India to bat first, and hopefully they apply the pressure early. Good question there, Anuj. Beautiful, beautiful. I love Sky. He's my favourite player. He's going to be player of the tournament. Sam, how are you going? That's a Wanderers shirt, I think. Soccer here in Australia. Thanks very much for joining me. Long time since I've been here. How does South Africa go about their bowling combination? Play both Mirage and Shamsi. Look, I don't mind bowling two spinners here out Perth Stadium. I think you can really control those middle overs with the big boundaries. And I think both of these particular bowlers have got the weapons to be able to control Indian batsmen. Yes, you want the Indian batsmen to use their feet. If they're using their feet looking for the short boundaries, all of a sudden you know that they're preempting. So you can just watch for early movements, shorten it up, and it brings in the stumpings, or brings the stumpings into play. But if they're playing for the crease and looking for the ramp or the sweep shots, that's where you bowl more overspin, get a bit of extra bounce, and get the top edges. So for me, spin comes into play, especially with their bowling lineup, what they've got in the power play with that extreme pace. So if South Africa do exactly what Zimbabwe did against Pakistan, control the power play, keep it to a par score of about 6 and over coming out of the 6th over, then they think they've got to be more aggressive to the spinners, and that's where spinners come in. As long as they're patient, bowling proper line and length, just probably a little bit shorter than a good line and length on this Perth pitch, and it's very hard for batsmen to get them away. So I'd still play two spinners here, and plus being a left arm leg spinner like Shamsi, Perth always sets us up for good bowling conditions here for left arm leggies. Good question there, Sam. I like that, and you've got predominantly right-hand batsmen in the Indian contingent as well. So Shamsi bringing the ball in, look to slog to the leg side, but then he's got his wrong on, which will come into play even more there with these big boundaries. Deadly Shiva, how are you? Oh, Deadly Shiva. Shiva Ramakrishnan was deadly with his leg spin too, and his comments on commentary. What's your thought on today's match, Australia versus England? Look, I'm up in the air about this one because both teams will be anxious. Both teams will be unsure of themselves. The batting lineup of Australia at the moment is fragile. Same with England. They're a little bit tentative now that the tournament has started. Yes, before the tournament, England looked as though they're on song. But now that it's the big matches of the World Cup, they seem to have gone into their shell. So they've got to be a little bit more aggressive against this Australian attack tonight. Aaron Finch, his form wasn't that flash the other night. Yes, Stoinis came in and absolutely annihilated a leg spinner here at Perth Stadium who wasn't in form, but this is going to be a little bit better bowling attack tonight. England, they're going to be a little bit more prepared. They've got a little bit more experience. So I'm just a little bit worried about that contest with Stoinis against the opposition bowlers of England. Yeah, I'm really up in the air about it. Our bowlers Australian bowlers aren't bowling out their best as well. They've had to travel from Perth back to the MCG. England getting beaten by Ireland the other night. Oh, it's really confusing. But with the travel, with Australia's uncertainty and the pressure of being at home, the pressure off-field as well with some of the comments and changing sponsors, as well as what's happened with the coaching staff, I just think it's starting to build. The bubble might burst here, and I think England are prime favourites tonight to beat Australia. I don't like it, but I just think all the conditions, everything that's happened off-field and the travel just gives England a huge advantage. I still want Australia to win, but I'm a little bit nervous. This is the most nervous I've ever seen or seen an Australian team walk out to the field today. That's my thoughts, Deadly Shiver. My thoughts there. I'm really concerned. Own terms. I like that. Own terms. If you want to live your life, you live on your own terms. But make sure you're helping other people out that are helping you out as well. Why so many upsets in this World Cup? I just think it's pressure. And I think sometimes if you look at Pakistan last night, even if you look at India when they started against the Dutch the other night, they just think it's going to be an easy win. And I think the teams that are the weaker teams, if they can bat first, put 130, 140 on the board and bowl well, and the opposition teams plays a little bit conservatively up front, then all of a sudden the pressure's onto them to make it up. And if I look at the game last night, I was commentating it, and I was saying to my co-commentator, all Zimbabwe have to try and do now after they've had a successful power play, just containing the Pakistan batsmen, is trying to force a situation where they have to find at least one boundary in each of the final 4 overs. If they do that, and they've got plenty of wickets and they're bowling out the tail, they have a huge chance of winning this game. And that's what they did. They did it perfectly, and just keeping it simple, bowling test match length, not trying to do anything special. So these weaker teams are keeping it simple. They've got a simple game plan, and doing that against the big nations, they're putting them on the back foot. And that probably tells me sometimes that the bigger nations are trying a little too much when it comes to when they're out in the middle as well. They're trying to be a little bit too fancy with the ball especially. A very good question, Owen Terms. I love it. Absolutely love it. So it's just down to the bowling, I think, is the difference. Just keeping it nice and simple. Rick Majumdar, Rick Majumdar, how are you going? Do you think Huda should get a chance instead of KL Rahul as an all-rounder? Look, Rick, I think this is a good move. I totally agree with you. I just think you need a bit of extra power out the back end. I think if you open with Rohit and Virat Kohli, who are relatively conservative batsmen up front, then you've got extra power out the back end to really bring the innings home. And if one of either Rohit or Virat get to bat through the innings, they've both got great strike rates out the back end where they can really catch it up as well. And when they spend a lot of time out in the middle, they end up with strike rates of 160, 170. But if they're chasing 20 balls and got a strike rate of 100, all of a sudden that puts extra pressure on the power at the back end. So for me, I think it would be a better balanced team with Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma opening batting, or if you're not going to do that, have another powerhouse batter out the top, opening with Rohit Sharma, trying to maximise the power play and still have Virat Kohli coming in at number 3. But I think that could be a good move, bringing Huda in for Rahul. And I really don't like saying that because I love KL Rahul. He has done a fantastic job for India over the years, batting in different scenarios. I say this all the time. He's versatile and deserves that reward. But you're in a T20 World Cup now, and when you come into the finals, and if you're coming up against the powerhouse of England, you need high strike rates. The game has changed from what it was a couple of years ago. Rick, that is a very good observation. Love it. Next question, please, Shubs. Arnold Brito, Virat and Rohit will tackle South Africa on this bouncy Perth pitch. Look out for Shami and his immaculate steam and nip. Exactly right. I just think this is going to be a fantastic contest. And I think this is, when you go back to what we're just talking about, bringing Huda in for Rahul, I think this is why you need someone like Virat and Rohit to open the batting here in Perth, because you need someone with a good technique. If the ball's not moving here, the night games, there has been a little bit of seam movement as well. And South Africa are very good on that, bowling that test match length. So you need batsmen with solid techniques to get through that initial stage, especially against the team of South Africa. But then you need that powerhouse in the middle order to take the game forward. So for me, I think India have got the perfect batting lineup to be able to counteract South Africa's strength. But in saying that, if they can't score too many runs in the power play, with India having to be a little bit more aggressive against the spin in the middle overs, that brings the spinners into play, and that's where the contest will be won and lost here at Perth Stadium. That little match up there, and I think Shamsi on this Perth wicket, I don't want him to bowl full. I want him to bowl that good test match length, because he's a little skiddier, and seaming off that wicket, I think it will create a lot of LBW opportunities for Shami on this wicket. So for me, Arnold, that is a very good observation. Yes, I think India do have the team to beat South Africa, but I think this is going to be one of the best, or it's going to be a very close contest tonight. I can't say one of the best after the two games that we've seen Pakistan have played. They've been sensational right to the last ball. I love it. Next question, please, Shubs. Bimal Baru. Hang on. Bimal Baru. Yes, how you going? What's your take on the Aussie chances for the World Cup, mate? Look, I'm never going to write them off with what they did in the UAE, but I just think they're different circumstances here now. I don't think they're as settled. I just think they were a little bit frustrated the other night here in Perth against Sri Lanka. You could see that or sense it out in the field. And I just thought the bowlers just didn't feel comfortable out in the middle. I thought they weren't delivering at their best. And I just think the batting lineup at the present moment, they don't know how they want to go about it. Sometimes they want to be aggressive. Sometimes they want to be tentative. So for me, I just think they've got to sit back, relax. How do we want to take England on? Do we want to be aggressive? Yes. All right. Let's go out and back our skills. For me, I think they're just trying a little bit too hard, and there's too many issues off the field that have been a major concern. And I'm looking at the fast bowling numbers as well, their speeds. Here in Perth, they weren't as quick as what they were a year or two ago. So for me, their pace has dropped off, which is a bit of a worry as well. That's the three genuine quicks that we have. So that's my big worry with the Aussies. I'm not as confident as what I was with them in the UAE, and I still wrote them off in the UAE. So I'm very worried with the pressures, both on and off the field here for the Australian contingent. So that's my take on them. I'm worried. I'm concerned. All right. Shubham Pradham. Actually, going back to that, I think they should bring Green in for David as well. Just that extra pace, and I think Green offers a lot more than what Tim David does. Shubham Pradhan, how you going, Mark? Stark seems to be a decent middle order bowler, but I believe he should open the bowling against England to trouble their openers. What are your opinions? For me, I think Stark's got to open the bowling, get that ball to swing, and if it is swinging, that's where he is most damaging. He swings it both ways, but bringing it back into the right-hander, especially Butler, on a good length, that's where he'll trouble him. And I think that's the contest that is going to separate the two teams. I'm very happy with the way Hazelwood goes. He just bowls that back of a length, top of off stump. He's always going to put pressure on the batsman, but I just think that you need that pressure out the other end. And I think Stark's got to take the new ball just to try and get those early breakthroughs. If he doesn't, well, then you might bowl him one over in the middle overs and one over out the back end as well. So I totally agree with you. Don't have him in the middle over. Try and get him 2 overs up front where the ball's got a better chance of moving. And I think that's Australia's best chance against England, having a fast left arm quick bowling against 2 prominent right arm opening bats. And the other thing with Australia here, against Butler, don't try too much. Just bowl test match length. He only averages 15 out of very low strike rate when the bowlers are bowling test match length in the power play. So that's something that Australia have got to look at. Good question, Shabam. Okay, Jay Power, how you going? What's your top 4 and favourite to lift the cup? My top 4 right now are India, Australia, and I think England are still going to get there. Actually, sorry, I think it might be England and New Zealand. I'm just going to change that. And with India, I think Zimbabwe are going to sneak through because Zimbabwe have got Bangladesh, Netherlands, and India. I think they're a big chance against Bangladesh, and I think they're a big chance against Netherlands. The reason why I say they're a big chance against Bangladesh is because I was really impressed with their quick bowlers last night. They were on the money and they troubled the Pakistan batsmen, and the Bangladesh batsmen have just as much trouble, if not more trouble, against that pace. And I'm looking at South Africa. Yes, they've got the Netherlands, but they've got India and Pakistan as well. And I just think that's a little bit of a harder match to win two of those three games for South Africa than it is for Zimbabwe to win their two games. So that's why I'm looking at that scenario right now, which is a little different, isn't it? A little different. Now, that's all, folks. Thanks very much for joining me. And I hope you're really enjoying the T20 series. Pakistan fans out there, very sorry for what happened last night. But when you don't come prepared to a match and you think you're going to win it easily, things just turn around very quickly. So whatever you're doing in your life, make sure you prepare the best so that you give yourself the best chance of success. Okay? All right. Look after yourselves. Have a great day, guys.